All right, we'll call the March 11th regular school board meeting for New Macross Landing to order. Roll call, Mr. Bizarre. I'm here. Ms. Conforti.
Here.
Mrs. Hurst is absent. She is sick. Mr. Rivas. Here. And myself, Mr. Cabral is here. All right, item number 2, public communication, closed session items. Member of the public may address the board on items not on the agenda. Speakers will be allowed 3 minutes unless the time limit is waived by a majority of the board. The board will allow comments by members of the public on an agenda item during consideration of the item. The board may limit the time for public input on each item for 20 minutes. With board consent, the president may increase or decrease the time allowed for public presentation. Depending on the topic and the number of persons wishing to be heard. The president may take a poll of speakers for or against a particular issue and may ask that additional persons speak only if they have something new to add. Complaints against specific district employees should be resolved through the district's personal complaint procedure. The right to address the board does not exempt a speaker from any potential liability for defamation. The proceedings of the board are recorded and are a part of the public record. At this time, does anybody have any agenda items to present to the board? All right. Seeing none, we'll go to closed session. At 5:01. Yeah. Oh, welcome. 6 p.m. We'll get started. If everybody could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, led by 2 students from Bonita Elementary.
Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you guys. Thank you. Item B, report out of action taken in closed session. Governing board took action to release probationary classified employee 36070 from her current position with the district effective March 12th, and that's 2024. Public communication item section 5, agenda and non-agenda items. Members of the public may address the board on items not on the agenda. Speakers will be allowed 3 minutes unless the time limit is waived by a majority of the board. The board will allow comments by members of the public on an agenda item during consideration for the item. The board may limit the total number of public input on each item to 20 minutes. With board consent, the president may increase or decrease the time allowed for public presentation depending on the topic and the number of persons wishing to be heard. The president may take a poll of speakers for or against a particular issue and may ask that additional persons speak only if they have something new to add. Complaints against district personnel should be resolved through the district's personal complaint procedure. The right to address the board does not exempt the speaker from any potential liability for defamation. The proceedings of the board are recorded and are a part of the public record. At this time, does any member of the public here tonight wish to address the board on public communication items or non-agenda items? Seeing that. She's speaking both times? Go ahead, Brittany, you can speak now.
Hi. As you know, I'm Brittany Clark, president of CSEA 551. I came to you guys on your special called board meeting to raise some concerns with the spending and those direct effects on our layoffs. And I know tonight you guys are deciding on those. And like I said last time, we will never be pro team layoff. And so I need you guys to, again, consider the full picture. At this meeting, you are asked to approve the warrants of $1,045,225.53. I get that again is beyond the bill. I get it's whatever. It's the $13,000 to keep our pool running. It's all of that. But again, that directly affects us and your students. We always try to make these cuts as far away from students as we can, and I'm not seeing that this time. Your lowest paid worker in this district makes $19.09 an hour. right? They can work anywhere from 3.5 to 8 hours for 181 days a year. My chapter has personally written checks to 6 of our members for $100 each to buy groceries, to pay off their bills, to pay rent, to keep a roof over their head. So these cuts that you are making, you're making to people that are living less than paycheck to paycheck, and people that want to be here for the kids and are working for the kids. In your layoffs tonight, you're looking at cutting 3 coordinators. Then you're turning around and looking at adding 2 directors. If your coordinators were on step 1, right, they make $128,907. For all 3 of them, that's $386,721. They were not hired at step 1, obviously, but if they were, that's what they're making. Your 2 directors that come in, if they're hired at step 1, that's $135,000 and $135,45. So if you take 2 of those, you're at $270,000. You're saving $116,000. That's more than 4 of your classified workers at your lowest rate. So I don't see where these cuts are equitable and why they're working for all of us when classified seems to be taking a brunt. We're not going to save you money. We are not millionaires. We do not make over $100,000 a year. We are the ones that are guaranteed to see your kids every single day. On top of that, I talked last time about when you guys hire people that are paid above a teacher, you're not hiring them on step 1. You're hiring them a little higher, which I get. Experience is important. I get the master's degree stipends are important. I kind of get the car allowances are important. I do not get that the buyouts of health insurance are important when that cap is what we fight for as classified. But those costs, again, add up, right? And we're looking at negotiations right now. We are in negotiations. You guys are approving your second interim budget tonight. In that, it does say that we finished negotiations. We have not. And I know everybody has a me too, right? Which for those of you that don't know, it's whatever deal that we get, everybody else gets, right? So when we're looking at these numbers, and it's all public record, you guys can go on and see what anybody in this district makes. Hypothetically, because I'm not going to say the real number that we're offered at the table because that's not appropriate from here. But if we were offered a 3% for us is light years different than a 3% for a superintendent, for a teacher, for a principal, for anybody in this district. And so to think again that you are going to save money by cutting classified workers that are the day-to-day that see your kids, we are not saving you the money that you are hoping. And the money that we have saved you through asking for our retirees, through working out with the district how this best plan is, instead of taking that and adding it to the deficit, you guys have added more layoffs. So you're not even appreciative, I guess is the word, for the money that we are saving you. And so I really want you to think, because I know that tonight at this meeting, you guys are going to vote how you're going to vote. I know that you guys have decided, you've talked, you've figured it out. But you are directly impacting our kids with these cuts, and it's not okay. And I really hope that it does not continue. Thank you.
All right, item number 6, approval of agenda.
I move that we approve the agenda.
Second that.
Thank you, Janice. Thank you, Tim. Mr. Razar,
Aye.
Ms. Conforti,
Aye.
Ms. Hurst is absent. Mr. Rivas.
Aye.
And myself, Mr. Cabral, votes aye. Item number 7, information discussional items. Item A is our student board member report. Ms. Grace Studer.
Hello, everyone. This past month at Simba, we passed a new club called the Zine Club. The purpose of this club is to bring together our school community through artistic journalism. On March 8th, our NAMI Club held a journaling workshop during lunch to teach students about the benefits of journaling for mental health. The Simba band had a concert last Thursday, March 7th at the Hunt Elementary. Our prom theme was also revealed. This year's prom theme will be the Glamour and Glitz Gala, a night in the Roaring 20s. On March 20th, we have a warrior showcase, and on March 21st, the STEM Club is going on a field trip to the Monterey Bay Aquarium. And on March 22nd, we'll be having a blood drive in the library. Our spring sports have also begun, including tennis, boys golf, boys volleyball, softball, baseball, and track and field. Our track team is one of the biggest it has ever been, with 75 students participating. And our tennis team won the Riverbank Doubles Tournament for the second year in a row. The track team competed in the Stanislaus County meet last Friday. The top 7 in each event qualify for the Country Clash, which features the top track athletes in Stanislaus and Merced County. Here were our finishers from Oristimba. Patricia Kearney finished 7th in the 2-mile. Devin Bell finished 4th in the high jump. Olivia Gray finished 2nd in the high jump. Jordan Mello finished 5th in the long jump and 2nd in the triple jump. And Imelda Beltran Pelayo finished 1st in the 400-meter as a freshman, breaking an 18-year-old school record by running 400 meters in 1 minute and 1 second. Thank you.
Thank you. Item B, Bonita Elementary School presentation.
Stand by me, Robert. We'll go first and then I'll introduce you guys. Come on. Good evening, everyone. I often tell people that I'm a very lucky principal because I have the opportunity to work with teenagers and adults at alternative education and with young children at Bonita. I don't feel so lucky when I have to present twice to the board. I have to write 2 safety plans, 2 SARC reports, and all that fun stuff, but I'm not complaining. I also get double the love, and I really enjoy that. I already had the chance to share what we're doing at Alted, and now it's time for Bonita. We have had a great year at Bonita. We currently have 144 Bobcats. This is the first year that we have TK at Bonita. And what we did is we combined TK and Kinder together. As you can see, there they are working and collaborating with each other in Ms. Heiberger's classroom. She's done a fantastic job with both grades, and the students really enjoy her class. These are our first graders. A note about this class is they love reading. Every time I go in there, Ms. Cajun is reading to them. They're reading lots of books all the time. But they do get to have some fun Fridays and enjoy playing with Legos sometimes. Here we have our second graders with Ms. Giles. They have been busy working on these habitat diagrams. Let me tell you, they were very impressive, very, very nice. But I do believe that they had some extra help from parents who are very creative and might go on Pinterest just, to compete against each other. But very, very nice diagrams and a lot of work. We have our third graders with Ms. Schilstadt, busy working on math, English, reading, writing, very busy. There are fun classes. You can see in one of the pictures, they get very, very creative and comfortable when it comes to learning. Our fourth graders were really busy working on their National History Day project, as well as our fifth graders. And I'm happy to announce that 2 of our projects are going to move on to the state competition next month. Here we have our intervention room and our learning center. And I also like to call this our power room because I often see our students coming out of that classroom very happy and walking out feeling like superheroes or Wonder Woman. And I have seen our team work really hard with our students, and they've made great progress this year in our intervention classroom. This is our counseling with Miss Brittany Salazar. She organizes activities during lunch and recess. She also does one-on-one sessions, classroom presentations, and group sessions with students, and she supports us with our mental health and social and emotional. Oops. For parent engagement, we have our monthly second cup of coffee meetings with parents. And last fall, we had our literacy night, and we just had our math night. And for both nights, we had a really good turnout. Parents were happy to engage with the teachers and with the students. And believe it or not, we were working on reading, writing, and math in the evening and had a really nice time. And I'm going to conclude with our last slide, just with different activities that we have for our students. One of my favorites is when on Fridays when we have our assemblies and we come together as a big little family. We talk about our week and our plans for the next week. Last semester or in the fall, we had our fall carnival, which we had a great turnout too. For winter, we had Polar Express Day. That was really, really fun, and pictures with Santa. And we just had our Read Across America Day last Friday, where we had some special guests that came and read to our students. And that was really nice too. Now I would like to introduce two of our Bobcats that are going to share their experience at Bonita. We're going to start with Evelyn Felgueres. All yours.
Hello, my name is Evelyn. I'm from Mr. Favorite's class and also a student from Bonita Elementary. Some of my favorite things about Bonita are the activities, such as art class with Miss Ball every Tuesday. We recently had Dr. Seuss Week. Another activity I really enjoy is the mental health activities that sometimes happen after lunch. One of the things that makes Bonita special is the personal staff, such as Miss Mesa, Miss Rios, and Miss Garcia. Another staff members that really help us throughout the day are the yard duties, like Miss Linda, Miss Maria, and Miss Annabelle. Those are some reasons I really enjoy going to Bonita. Thank you.
Oh my God. Hey there, also members of the Newman Crows Landing School Board. I'm Robert Lopez and super excited to talk about our school, why our school rocks. Reason one, amazing. We have amazing teachers, but our teachers are like superheroes. They teach us cool stuff and always cheer us on. They make learning fun and help us grow smarter every day. Reason two, we're like a family. Our school may be small, but that's what makes it special. We all know each other and look out for one another. It feels like a big family, and that's pretty awesome. Reason three, fun assemblies are the best. We get to show off what we've been learning and cheer each other on. It's like a big party where we celebrate how awesome we are. Reason four, awesome parties, AR parties rock. Who doesn't love a good party, especially when it's for reading? AR parties are one of the best because they encourage us to read more and have fun doing it. Reason five, after school fun. Our after school programs are epic, from sports to art to science experiments. There's something for everyone. They make our school even more awesome because we get to do cool stuff with our friends after class. So let's keep on making Newman Crows Landing School the coolest place to learn and grow together. Thanks for listening to my ideas.
Thank you, Robert and Evelyn. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item C, attendance wards. Mrs. Vargas, come on up.
Good evening. I will be giving away the attendance awards on behalf of Mr. Gonzalez and the Child and Welfare Attendance Department tonight. So the Best Staff Attendance Award goes to Orstimba. They have a lot of staff. They have a lot of staff too. The Best Student Attendance this month goes to Von Renner. Mhm. Yep. And the last one is our least chronically absent, most improved, which is a biggie for us, is YOLO Middle School this month.
All right, moving on to item number 8, the consent calendar. The consent calendar items are routine in nature and usually do not require board discussion. Individual items may be removed by board members and presented for discussion and separate action. The consent calendar will be adopted by a roll call vote. Did I get a motion? Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Bazar. Thank you, Ms. Conforti. Mr. Bazar? Ms. Conforti? Ms. Hurst is absent. Mr. Rivas?
Aye.
And myself, Mr. Cabral votes aye. 4-0 with 1 absent. Number 9, action items. A, approve 2022 to 2023 audited financial statements.
In your board backup, you have a copy of the 22-23 audited statements, and everything is pretty much in order. There was one minor finding that was procedural, and we fixed that for going forward.
Any questions from Ms. Mendoza?
No.
Motion.
Make a motion.
Thank you, Frank. Second?
I'd be happy to second it.
Thank you, Mr. Bazar. Mr. Bazar?
Aye.
Ms. Conforti?
Aye.
Ms. Hurst is absent. Mr. Rivas?
Aye.
And myself vote aye as well. 4-0, 1 absent. Item B, approve second interim budget report. Ms. Mendoza?
Good evening. Edward's queuing that up. So second interim is a report of everything that's happened this year up through January 31st. So things that we look at second interim, we have different assumptions that we had in October. We look at what one-time funding is happening are we getting new funding, or is funding ending? What's happening for next year? What does the average daily attendance and the enrollment look like? And what were the big factors in the January proposal? So the revenue summary, you can see, hasn't changed a lot. Federal, the projected went down, and that's basically the way just one of the ESSER funds was accounted for. Everything else stayed very close to the same. There was some other state revenue that went up because we have some new programs. And the local revenue increased because we had more interest because the returns at the county treasury are doing better. So that was the cause for the interest in earnings. The expenditures have changed a little bit as well. Classified salaries increased due to the addition of some positions. Benefits went down at the end of last year. We budgeted benefits a little bit differently, and so we went back through and corrected that when we saw that we weren't going to realize it. Books and supplies always changes from first interim to second interim. Part of that also is budgeting for summer school, and a lot of times we're notified mid-year that we will be getting a new funding source that we have to budget the expenditures against. So that's where we are for now. So instead of 59 million at the beginning of the year, we're looking at just under 61. So we do have to enact the reserve cap again this year. A couple of years ago, it was triggered due to the state depositing money into the rainy day fund. We do have a board resolution in place to limit the assigned and the unassigned reserves to no more than 10%. So our year-end projection, we are looking at an unrestricted balance of about 9.5 million. The restricted balance, you can't really count that for ongoing things because a lot of that is a one-time balance, and once that is spent down, it is gone. So we're looking at we have to have the 8%, and the 8%, it's a little over just because it includes that 37,000 from Fund 17. We have to count that into our reserve as well. And then our multi-year projection, we're looking at the unrestricted side because again, you can have a big change to the ending fund balance for the restricted, which is what you want. You want to be spending down those restricted dollars. So next year, looking at the revenue will be just slightly over what we have this year. Our revenue is flat. Our enrollment is declining slightly. And so looking at the calculator, this is what it came up with, and then a slight increase for the third year. And then we are trying to bring the expenditures back in line so that we have less of a deficit next year. And then we will be showing at this time, we will be showing a slight surplus the third year. So the changes in the pension, CalSTRS is remaining the same. It's 19.1% of certificated salaries. CalPERS continues to increase up to 28.5% by 25-26. So that means that it's an additional about $8,000 per $1 million of salary just on an annual basis. So planning for next year, we start with what are the planning factors? We're using the statutory COLA of 0.76%. And then we're not doing the gap rate anymore. We're 100% funded for the LCFF. Before, when they were phasing us in, there would have been a gap percentage. Our unduplicated percent is about 72.5. That gives you the enrollment and then kind of how it's calculating out and where we get our LCFF dollars, which is just under 42.5 million. And what are we watching for next year? We're watching for the legislative analysts and the Department of Finance and the governor to duke it out and say, can they fully fund the proposed COLA without doing anything like revenue deferrals or deficit COLAs or anything like that? Will some of our newer programs that governor has implemented, will those be impacted by revenue shortfalls? Some things are kind of protected and some things could be potentially impacted. And then we will monitor the ADA calculations through the new formulas. Our hold harmless years of higher ADA numbers are falling off the 3-year average. So we'll watch there's 3 formulas that the state allows, and we'll watch which one gives us the best numbers. And then for the state revenue, who's going to be the closest? Is it going to be the Department of Finance? Is it going to be the legislative analyst? Or is it going to be the governor? So that's kind of up in the air so far. Are there any questions?
Anybody have any questions for Ms. Mendoza?
It's kind of, whenever you look at the papers, I mean, looking at the papers, I get a paper because I don't read online. I like paper. You keep seeing all the cuts that are coming, and they don't seem to be saying, oh, surprise, we're going to give you a couple million more, rather than giving it to us, they're going to take it away. And it's really getting scary, and they're playing politics with our children. So we need to really be careful about that.
Any other questions? No. Can I get a motion to approve second interim budget report?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Thank you. Mr. Bizarre,
Aye.
Ms. Conforti? Ms. Hurst is absent. Mr. Rivas?
Aye.
And myself, Mr. Correll, votes aye, 401. One absent. Item number C, it's gonna be a special guest speaker tonight. It'll be Mr. Dale Scott, who's gonna give us a briefing on our school bonds coming up.
Good evening. I am really here to answer any questions you might have on the two resolutions before you. Both of them are almost identical. This would put two general obligation bonds on the November 2024 ballot. A few very brief remarks about the two resolutions. The really important pieces of the resolution are the appendices, A, B, and C. Appendix A is the full ballot text. It describes all the projects that you're anticipating funding, gives you the permission to fund those, and it discusses some of the regulations. That will be appearing in the sample ballot that goes to every voter. Appendix B is the actual ballot language. That's that little 75-word piece that you read when you're trying to figure out what these are about. And Appendix C is the tax rate statement that will also be in the sample ballot to give taxpayers voters a sense of how much it will cost them in taxes. The two measures, although they are described somewhat differently in the ballot text, both have essentially the same project list. So it's to give the voters a sense of how these funds will be used. But from your point of view, you'll have the ability to draw from each. So you won't be saying, oh gosh, we're out of money in this fund, and I wish we would have put more in that fund. You have a great deal of flexibility. You also have flexibility on the projects that you do ultimately fund, should there be passage of the measure. It gives you wide berth on what projects you can use, and it's up to you as a board to decide what the priority is, which will be funded, which will not, et cetera, et cetera. I will note, I think it's probably already been mentioned to you, but I will note that under Proposition 39, which is the constitutional amendment, which allows a 55% election, it requires a 2/3 majority of the board, which means four yes votes, one abstention or no vote. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Anybody have any questions for Mr. Scott?
I do, if I could ask, and I asked this last time, and I know, I remember your answer, and I'm just gonna sort of again ask it. As I understand your point of view, the voters who will turn out in the general election are either likely to endorse this type of bond measure or reject it. And in a general election such as this, where it's a presidential election, we're hoping and probably more likely to encounter voters who are prone to voting in favor of this type of thing. I'm nervous about the fact that there are two of them. I know it probably seems kind of silly to worry about whether a person who's in the ballot box or who's sitting at home is going to endorse this or not endorse it based on the facts that there are two as opposed to one. But it occurs to me, or at least it seems to me, that some people are going to look at it and say, well, I might vote for one, but I'm not going to vote for two, thinking that in some way they're being generous by giving us one. Now, I'm personally in favor of both of them. I think that a community like ours is benefited by well-kept schools, and that any dollar we invest in the schools really comes back to the community and makes, I think you mentioned this last time, it makes your property more valuable. It makes the community just a better place to live. And so it's a wise investment. So that's how I feel, but I'm concerned that And I'm gonna just again ask you, do you think there's there would be an advantage saying somehow combining them? I know, I realize this would increase the tax rate. But say one for $57 million as opposed to one for 27 and one for $30 million.
Okay, so three comments or three responses. First is, I am completely with you in sync on that. And in fact, when we began to explore, this was a number of years ago, we began to explore the two issue solution. I'll explain why that is in a second. I had exactly the same feeling you had, which was, well, this doesn't seem to, I'm just instinctively, you think, gosh, is this going to make a person say, well, I'll give you one, but I won't give you another, or I'm not going to give you either. So we went back and we've monitored these both through voter surveys and through watching other districts around the state. And I haven't found any evidence of that. I still have that as instinct, but I haven't found any evidence. And I guess the counter to that is I think people as voters, they're either in or they're out. They're either supporters or they're not. And they don't really split that vote. And we didn't see in the survey research here, people shifting their vote when they heard there were two. Now, nevertheless, I still share that. So my second comment is, your cutoff date for filing a resolution to get on the ballot with this county is roughly early June. At any time up until that time, or even a couple of weeks after, if the board decides, we're really hearing a lot of negative response about this, that's fine. We can always come back to the board. We can restructure it. We can pull one. We can put it on one. You've given yourself a little bit of time to get out there and make changes. So that's not an issue. The reason we don't do two has to do with the tax rate. The tax rate is limited to $60 per $100,000 of assessed valuation. And if you see, when you add these two up, that's over the amount of the sum of these two measures. So it's merely a way of increasing the amount and staying within the law. We couldn't just put the two together and say, okay, we're going to do this one bond at a $70 or an $80 or a $90 tax rate. You have to stay. I will say that provision of the law, I mean, I know the people that wrote that provision of the law, and it happened one night. It was literally a negotiation as they were putting this on the ballot. It wasn't based on any sort of research or careful thought. I mean, they thought they were thinking carefully, but it was really just, yeah, that sounds like the right number. And that's what we've been living with now for 20 years. I hope that answers your question somewhat.
So we really couldn't put one on for $57 million.
No.
All right.
Anybody else? Thank you, Mr. Scott.
Thank you.
Item number C, resolution number 23-24, number 11, ordering an election to authorize the issuance of school bonds, establishing specifications of the election order, and requesting consolidation with other elections occurring on November 5th, 2024. $27 million maximum principal amount bond measure. Do I have a motion for that?
I make a motion that we accept resolution number 23-24/11, ordering an election to authorize the issuance of school bonds, establishing specifications of the election order and requesting consolidation with other elections occurring on November 5th, 2024. 27 million maximum principal amount bond measure.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Mr. Rizar,
Aye.
Ms. Conforti,
Aye.
Mr. Rivas.
Aye.
Mrs. Hurst is absent, and Mr. Cabral votes aye as well. 4-0. One absent. Item number D, resolution number 23-24, number 12, ordering an election to authorize the issuance of school bonds, establishing specifications of the election order, and requesting consolidation with other elections occurring on November 5th, 2024, $30 million maximum principal amount bond measure. Do I have a motion for that one?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Tim. Second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Frank. Mr. Bizarre,
Aye.
Ms. Conforti,
Aye.
Mrs. Hurst is absent, Mr. Rivas?
Aye.
And myself vote aye. Motion carries 4-0 with 1 absent. Item number E, approve resolution number 23-2408, certificated layoff. We have a motion for that?
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Second.
Mr. Bizarre,
Aye.
Ms. Conforti,
Aye.
Ms. Hurst is absent. Mr. Rivas?
Aye.
And myself vote aye. Motion carries 4-0, 1 absent. Item F, approve resolution number 23-24, number 9, regarding non-reelect of certificated employees. Do we have a motion for item F?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Mr. Rivas. Second?
I second.
Mr. Bizarre,
Aye.
Ms. Conforti,
Aye.
Mrs. Hurst is absent. Mr. Rivas?
Aye.
And myself vote aye. 4-0, 1 absent. Item G, approve resolution 23-24, number 10, classified layoff. Do we have a motion for item G?
Yes, I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Tim. Second?
I'll second.
Mr. Bizarre,
Aye.
Ms. Conforti,
Aye.
Ms. Hurst is absent. Mr. Rivas,
Aye.
and myself vote aye. 4-0, 1 absent. Item number 10, future agenda items, spotlight on Yolo Middle School.
Speaking up.
Hmm?
Who's speaking for them?
Who's doing that one? Anybody speaking for Yolo? For next month?
That's for next month, yeah.
And item number 11, the superintendent report.
Yeah, first I want to say thank you to Benita for the art and the presentation tonight. Awesome, thank you, kids. Thank you, Mrs. Skivas. The next one is our Newman Community Town Hall meeting. It is being led by Julia Ginniga and Eddie Davila, and that will be on March 21st from 5:30 to 7:30 on human sex trafficking, basically. And so it was one of the items that our parents wanted to see, that when they kind of started the first night that they did the dad's conference. So that was one of the items that some of our parents wanted brought forward as well. So I'm hoping as many people can attend that. Also, again, thank you to the principals and the schools for every student succeeding. We had a wonderful event in here with some amazing students with some amazing stories. And I want to say congratulations to Isabella Rodriguez, who will be going on to our to the county event, which would be tomorrow morning. She has to be there about 6:30 a.m.
in the morning.
So yes, so she'll be there early. So again, I want to wish her well. And then the next is, I want to say welcome to Miss Dr. Seha, and first day on the job as our assistant superintendent of HR.
Sure. Board report, Mr. Bizarre.
Well, I mean, today we passed some resolutions, at least authorizing some layoffs. And I know that that's a very sensitive subject. It's a painful subject, particularly if you're the person that is thinking you might be laid off, or even if you're someone who's employed with that person, it's going to be painful. It is not absolutely clear to me that people in the end will be laid off, although this gives us the authority to do that. And we need to have that authority if we're going to balance our budget. Otherwise, we get to a situation where we didn't give layoff notices the time limit is gone. And then we have employees who we really don't have the money to pay for. We heard some comments about which group should bear the brunt of the pain when you have layoffs. I don't have a perfect answer for that. I don't think anybody on the board does. We, I think as a group, are trying to spread whatever, I don't know if it's right to say it, call it pain, but spread the pain among the different units. And it's also true that generally people who are doing certain jobs aren't paid as much as people who are doing other jobs. And so there's a bigger savings, I suppose, if you lay off one very highly paid person as opposed to 3 or 4 people who are paid less. On the other hand, you know, if you're going to run an organization this size, you're going to need a mix of employees. You can't just say to yourself, well, we'll only go with people who are not paid very much. Anyway, it's a tough decision to make. It's a tough situation to have. Hopefully, some of these predictions of the bad budgetary situation the state's in are exaggerated. And hopefully over the next few months, we'll find that to be true. But on the other hand, we look at the news, we can't tell. And even the people who are supposedly in charge of the state can't really tell what our financial situation is. So the best we can do is prepare. This is our attempt to prepare, or at least my attempt to prepare when I cast my vote. So that's my explanation for what we're doing.
Thanks, sir. Ms. Conforti?
One of the things I'd like you to ask, and we tend to be very passive when we're on either side, write, call, tell your legislators that we need to not do this to our schools, even our students, like our high school students. Write to our legislators, say there's got to be another way, because our hands are tied. We have budgets that we have to sit with, and I am not a happy person. I fought a lot for this not to happen. So it doesn't make it easy, and it's not what I'd like to do anyhow. And I've written to many legislators, and I've gone up to Sacramento to fight for you for many, many years, and sometimes even this year. But help us have a voice. That's part of what our democracy is. Thank you. Be safe.
Mr. Rivas?
I don't much, just I think a couple weeks there'll be senior interviews. I'll be on that panel, so just be yourselves and don't be nervous. You guys will be fine. Just smile. That's it. That's it.
Kind of like what the rest of the board had already discussed and shared with you guys is nobody wants to let go of people up here. We really don't. I mean, that's the last thing that we want to do. But when there's not enough money to go around from the state, we have to make cuts district wide, you know, and there's not one particular area that we're picking on. It's a tough process to go through the process to find out where we have extra people, where we need more help and move people around, to kind of diversify that workforce, to have other people pick up the slack per se. But it is a tough decision. But unfortunately, you know, there is some things coming down that will help get us into better financial situation to hopefully maybe next year we'll be able to hire people. You know, but right now we're just in a little bit of a shortfall that if we don't make the cuts, if we don't move money around, we're even gonna be worse in a hole. And it's not just us. Look at the newspaper. Those area schools are in the same boat as us, but they're getting rid of hundreds of people versus a small percentage of what we're trying to minimize over here. So we are in a lot better shape than the other school districts in the county. But there still needs to be work to be done. So I just want to thank Carolyn for all the time over the last 2 months. Mr. Hennis, everybody that had their hand in the pot to try to figure out the best outcome per se, with the least impact. You know, like I said, by the time we got to the end result, it was a really tough decision, you know, and we're still gonna keep trying. We're still gonna keep trying. Trust us. We're not just gonna say, hey, that's it. We're still gonna keep putting all of our effort into it. So with that, we'll adjourn the meeting at time you got, Frank? 6:49. Thank you guys for coming.